Good morning. Good morning and good Sunday. I hope that this new day finds you well. My name is Leon Dunkley. I minister to North Universalist Chapel Society here in Woodstock, Vermont. I'm so happy to see you this morning. Today is Sunday, June 21st, the Sunday of the Juneteenth celebrations. And this morning's reflection is entitled Sheltering in Love with a question mark. A question that we would be wise to answer at this time. The title comes to us from a teacher of and a practitioner of Buddhism, a woman named Tara Brach, and she says, "We know through the centuries that pandemics have torn through human societies. And when they do, they become a mirror for how we relate to mortality and to loss and to change, how we relate to each other, our level of morality, of care. Of course, it has been mixed news how we respond," she goes on to say. If we investigate our responses in the midst of the crisis, these crises lay bare our lives. They force us either into reacting into fear or to responding with presence and with love. That's the spectrum. And here's what's important, she says. Given the scale of this crisis and given that it's affecting all of us, if a good number of people are collectively intentional about responding with presence and with love, and there's a good number of us, then we are directly seeding a world, seeding a future that we long for. Now, I'm not surprised that she uses as the title of her reflection, Sheltering in Love, sort of contrasting it with our governmental orders to shelter in place. But sheltering in love is precisely what she is doing. As she continues, she explains that along with the multitude of suffering, there is a potential for profound compassion and for a more compassionate world. She explains that this compassion is not a consolation prize, it's not a silver lining, it's not a byproduct. She understands it to be the way the dialectic of human unfolding happens to happen. It's a natural event, part of the normal miracles of our lives. Tara Brach offered these thoughts in March. The death of George Floyd at the hands of the police and the worldwide protests affirming his human dignity, a dignity that had been looted from him. These things had not taken place just yet. She was responding only to the global pandemic. So the magnitude of our suffering has increased, greatly increased, so to speak, with a suffering that was already there, although perhaps not generally known to us. We had not yet opened our eyes, but that has happened now. Our eyes are open. So an inner hero is rising up in us. You can see it in the eyes above the mask of 8-year-old kids in school. You can see it in the eyes of graduating high school seniors. Congratulations, you guys. You can see it in the eyes of the elderly, in the Native and Indigenous eyes, in sacred and beloved eyes, truly in all of us, for it is possible, and this is our prayer. May we see that in one another. It's a good time to seek the heroic, the noble, the fiercely loving energies within us, the transformational energies that imbue old things with brand new life. In good times and in tempest, in conflict and in consensus, know that we are held whole and honored by a love that knows no bounds. Let no single heart from out the whole be gone from us, not gone from the widening circles of our affection, but held whole in beauty, bound by grace and built by love and light and laughter. To all souls I say good morning. It is good to be together. Please rise. In body and in spirit, rise if you are willing and if you are able to join in the singing of our opening hymn, O Life That Maketh All Things New. This is the moment in our order of service for the sharing of joys and concerns. This morning, I light 3 candles. One for those who are ill in the name of our recovery. Godspeed. One for those who suffer for lack of resources. May these needs be met in bravest measure and soon. And for those who are caught in fear, in anxiety, or in anger, a candle burns for strength and for resilience and for courage. For all that is in our hearts, wherever we may be right now. May we be forever grateful for these days we spend together, these days that have our names written upon them. For this, I will light one more candle. May we hold all of this in compassionate community as we enter a time of meditation and prayerfulness. In a poem called Ulysses, Alfred Lord Tennyson writes, "Come, my friends, for it is not too late to seek a newer world. Our purpose holds to sail beyond the sunset, and although we are not now that strength which moves earth and heaven, that which we are. One equal temper of heroic heart, made weak by time and fate, but strong by will, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. I'd like to share something with you. I'm not embarrassed about it, but I shattered a wine glass publicly. I broke a wine glass in front of all of my colleagues and in front of all of my teachers in the first few days of seminary out in Berkeley, California. I was part of a group of first-year seminarians who had been charged with a task. We were to make a presentation to the other aspiring ministers. There are 20 of us or so, and we were to discuss the subject of belonging. Now, on the face of it, on the outward face of it, our presentation was about precisely that, about belonging and about not belonging in this American society of ours. But on the inward face of it, under the surface, it was a lot about anger. It was about how frustrated I was back then, how brokenhearted I was at Unitarian Universalism, for its failures in getting serious and getting real about its own theology. Now, I believe what we say we are. I really believed it back then. Over the course of these years, though, I've learned to brace myself. Unitarian Universalists may readily proclaim the liberal and progressive good news, but we can be just as cunning and just as mischievous and just as abusive as people of any faith. We're not unique. Kindness for all of us, regardless of our religious persuasions, is a choice. And we make it or we don't. And this happens in every possible expression of faith. I thought, though, that Unitarian Universalists were special. I thought that we were unique. And sometimes we are, and sometimes we're not. Back then, we liked to call ourselves the uncommon denomination. We thought that we could set ourselves apart. We thought that we could rise above. I think that was more of a marketing slogan, more of a campaign kind of thing, more than it was a character trait. I was trying to live this out. I was trying to be special. A lot of my friends were trying to live this out. We aspired to be great. There are plenty of us, though, who were not so inclined and did not bother. That's why true fellowship is so important. That which we are, we are. So I broke a glass in frustration. And let me tell you why I did that. For our class presentation, we set up a mostly wordless play about belonging and not belonging. It was sort of a choreography, a dance, if you will. And we set the whole thing to music, and I chose the music myself. I chose a piece of music called First Circle by Pat Metheny and his band. This music had a beautiful arc that I thought would be useful to us. So there were all of these different sections, different movements, and we took advantage of that. So here they were. In the first 36 seconds, we hear this polyrhythmic pattern of over 11 beats. People are clapping, and then there's a melody that happens in a bell. Bum, 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 ding, dum, ding, dum, boop, bee, dee, boo, boo, boom, boom, bee, bum, bum. A beautiful thing, and they interact, and the whole thing happens twice, and it sends the listener into a different realm, into another world. And then there's some harmony that comes in and lets the whole thing take a break for a while, and you take a breath. After that, we cycle through the pattern again, this time with vocals. So that's the first 61 seconds, and during this time, during our silent play, all of the characters are introducing themselves. We were doing so as we were standing in one great big circle around the outside of the room, a room called the fireside room. It's where we had all of our special and sacred meetings. So that was the sanctuary of the seminary, if you will. Once the introductions were done, we divided ourselves into two groups, into two smaller circles, sub-circles, if you will. And we made it really clear and obvious that there was a cool kids group and there was an uncool kids group. And I was one of the uncool kids, but I had aspirations. Okay? I thought that if I paid my dues and if I played my cards just right, I could move up in the world. So that's the first section right there. From the 60-second second, or from 1 minute and 2 seconds into the presentation, from 1 minute and 2 seconds to 2 minutes and 16 seconds, there's a nylon string guitar that takes hold of the music and quietly, classically, and beautifully takes hold of the storytelling on a musical level. This is what nylon guitars do best. So during this section, the uncool kid, me, struggles with his feelings of wanting to fit in, of wanting to be accepted with the cool kids crowd, but also feeling insecure about the whole dynamics. He is courted and encouraged by both sides to belong. He is being drawn to the centers of both circles. He is being pulled by two gravities. He is subject to two different spheres of influence. From 2 minutes and 17 seconds to 3 minutes and 51 seconds, the music intensifies and the cool kid aspirations begin to take hold. My character begins to turn away from the first group of uncool kids and turn his attention towards the second group of cool kids. He wants the change. He gathers up his courage and he takes the leap. Will he be accepted? At 3 minutes and 21 seconds, it's very clear that he has been accepted by the cool kid crowd. They bestow upon him a great affection and also a gift. They give him a flower, a lovely flower in an elegant wine glass. And they tell him that the flower represents his unique beauty, a beauty that belongs to him and to him alone. And they tell him that the wine glass is part of a precious set and that every cool kid has one. They tell him that the wine glass is very expensive and that he has been charged with its safekeeping. They say that they trust him, but they look at him with suspicion. They're not sure about him just yet. My character pretends not to notice their eyes, their sideways glances. He allows himself to become elated, to be drunk in the intoxicant of unhealthy social power. At 4 minutes and 27 seconds, life gets really hard for my character. He is happy with that the cool kids have accepted him, but they want him to sever ties with his old community. They want him to fully commit to the new community with no regrets. And he knows that this is wrong, and he doesn't want to do it, but he also wants to fit in, so he's conflicted. He's in turmoil, he's in pain and anguish. He's confused, he's frustrated. The tensions build steadily for the next minute and 13 seconds, and nearing the end of this period of time, he removes the flower from the wine glass that he was given, and he places it between his teeth gently. And precisely at the 6 minutes and 40-second mark, he throws the expensive wine glass of social ascendancy against a brick wall, and it shatters into pieces. Everyone hears this, and it surprises everyone. No one is expecting it. Some of us are upset. Others of us are delighted. From 6 minutes and 41 seconds to 7 minutes and 15 seconds, my character rages, screaming at the sun, at the moon, at anyone who will listen. He had hurt the people that he had loved with his selfishness and his greed. He had lost his integrity, and he wanted to get it back. From 7 minutes and 16 seconds to 7 minutes and 41 seconds, he beseeches the people that he respects in both groups. He beseeches the uncool kids from the first group. He beseeches the cool kids from the second group. He beseeches everyone who will listen except for the ones that forced him to choose. At 7 minutes and 42 seconds, when the music is at its height, the separate sub-circles of cool and uncool kids entirely dissolve, and all of the players reform that first circle, the one large circle, just where they had been at the beginning of the presentation. One circle with everyone included except the divisive kids who thought that they were cool and really weren't. We told them, truly, that we were hurt by their actions. We were hurt by what they had done, dividing us up like that. We told them falsely that if they paid their dues, and if they played their cards just right, that they could rejoin us. And then we revealed our inauthenticity, and we told them that we were choosing to play the game of belonging by different rules. We weren't going to exclude anybody, including them. We told them that they could play and they could belong so long as they, like everyone else in the circle, respected everyone else who was playing the game. With a single gesture, we shattered the myth of separateness. We broke it like a fine wine glass. Now, sometimes you have to shatter your illusions. You know what they say, when the bow breaks, meaning when hope shatters around us like glass, when we lose our illusions about life, we tend to seek shelter of some kind. When we lose our sense of safety, when we get scared enough, we seek the nearest shelter that we can find. Now, sometimes that shelter looks like a circle of belonging, but it's really not. Sometimes it's something else. Sometimes it's something less. Sometimes it's a code of conformity that only looks like genuine friendship. We can be slow to recognize this. It is so easy to be bullied into circles of conformity, circles of unhealthy social power. Now, when we started, we were literally all together. We were one circle, a first circle, with everyone included. But we allowed ourselves to be broken up into groups. We allowed ourselves to be divided. And to do this, we judged ourselves, and we judged other people. And sometimes we thought that other people were better than we were. Sometimes we thought less of ourselves. We projected our feelings on other people. We projected our fears. We projected our anxieties. Thinking sort of in the inner mindscape that the grass is always greener on the other side. And it's true. The grass is always greener, but it's just as hard to mow. We weren't being kind enough to ourselves. The falseness of our projections over time began to clarify. We recognized that the people who were causing all of the divisiveness, the bully leaders, if you will, ceased looking like the coolest kids on the block and looked more and more like the righteous bullies that they were. And there's a saying about righteousness. It's a good one. It says, how quickly righteousness flies from the hands of those who try to wield it. How quickly righteousness flies from the hands of those who try to wield it. When we realized that the sort of impact that the bully dynamic was having on us, we stopped playing the game according to its rules. We shattered our own illusions. We broke a glass. We shattered the illusion of separateness. In our society, we're pretty divided right now. And the only reason we are as divided as we are is because we don't know each other as well as we once did. We've allowed ourselves to become estranged from one another. It's a good time for us to shatter our illusions of separateness and stop playing the games of belonging by bully rules. It would be helpful if our illusions shattered like a glass, if we broke them and broke them responsibly. Now, the play that we did in seminary took place in a place called the Fireside Room. It's the sort of sanctuary of the seminary, as I said, and we broke the glass quite safely. We didn't simply throw it against the brick wall, although there were brick walls all around us. We were very careful to throw the glass into the fireplace itself. And we had a little gate there prepared to catch the shards so that no one was injured. If we're going to break things, even illusions in our society, we need to figure out how to do that safely. The glassy illusions that are shattering in our world right now are not shattering safely. We are upset. We're brokenhearted. If we can do this with patience and with kindness and with love and not with fear, we can get through this in a way that can be quite beautiful. And when I pray and am settled in myself, I know that that's what will happen. So here's the thing. bit by bit, little by little, we're losing the integrity of our story. Every time something that shatters our illusions about life happens, we lose a piece of that story. When Derek Chauvin and his fellow officers killed George Floyd on the streets of Minneapolis, we lost a little bit of our integrity with respect to our story. When Travis and Gregory McMichael and William Bryant killed or just filmed the killing of Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia, we lost a little bit of our story. When Amy Cooper and her unleashed dog in Central Park chose to fear for her life in the middle of a day because a polite, well-spoken, avid bird watcher asked her to pay attention to the Central Park rules, and she called the police, claiming that her life had been threatened, we lose a little bit of our integrity. Over time, those little bits add up. Somehow we keep making the same mistakes again and again. Stop this train. Surely there's a way. Now, I don't know that way just yet, but I have seen glimmers of it. I have faith in those glimmers that I've seen. I don't have to have faith in those glimmers, but somehow I do. I still do. And I continue to have such faith. Why do I continue? I continue to have such a faith in the glimmers of hope that are around us because the boughs of life are breaking now, and there's never been a better time. I believe as I do because hope is shattering like an expensive wine glass, and there has never been a better time to believe in us. I'm losing my illusions. We are, all together, and we are seeking shelter of some kind. And if we are brave, we'll do this together. If we are loving, we'll do this together. We do this for and forever with one another. As the poet Ray Montaigne has written, listen, when all of this around us falls over, tell me, what are we going to do? If you will shelter me, my love, then I will shelter you. We have two choices, boldly speaking, broadly speaking, and here they are. We can shelter in one of two ways. We can shelter in fear and trembling, or we can shelter in the presence of love. The choice is ours to make, and the choice seems so very clear. How does it feel to you? What does this choice feel like to you? For me, it is just as Tara Brach said that it was. She said, given the scale of this crisis, she says, and given that it affects all of us, if a good number of people are collectively intentional about responding with presence and love, and there's a good number of us, then we are directly seeding a world, seeding a future that we long for. When we sing the songs that are in our heart, when we know the beauty of the sky and the flow of the river, when we stand forever with one another in faith, as we kneel more than 100 strong in the green in the middle of Woodstock, we are being collectively intentional about responding with presence and love. When we rest in that presence and in that love, we are renewed. We rest in the safety of beloved community, congregating in body and in spirit, even online. Everywhere around us is the answer. A humble teacher once said, and I believed it, and I still do, split a piece of wood and I am there. Lift a stone and you will find me. Here's what it means. Despite the obvious challenges, the abundance of life's blessings are everywhere around us. May we manifest the courage and the strength of heart that we need to see their beauty, to name their beauty, and to become this beauty. Each to our gift, each and every day. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
Lo, what a glorious sight appears to our believing eyes.
In earth and seas are
Jerusalem comes down, Adonai.